Today we're doing the hardest difficulty, Naked Brutality in the desert, and we have our pawn red here, and let's see how it goes. Let's go. We start off by chopping some cacti because we need wood. We start off with no tools, no weapons, we have to make everything ourselves, and since we have no food or we're in the desert, there's a big chance we'll die very soon. I also set up a stockpile zone in the nearby ruins because we're going to inhabit them for a little bit. With some of the wood that we have gathered, I set up a horseshoe pin, as if we don't have recreation, red will break mentally very fast. I then start off by building one of the more critical structures that we will need, a butchering table, which will give us more food out of the small amount of animals that actually inhabit the desert. And luckily, we actually have some donkeys, but to actually hunt them, we need a bow, and we used up all our wood for the butchering table, so we're going to chop down some more cacti. And that's the end of our first day, and we still have no food, and red is slowly starting to get malnutrition. And in the morning of the next day, we're already hard at work with making our bow and making some arrows. Red's mental state is not looking too good, so we go straight to hunting. And this is bad. Red is having a mental break while starving. This could quite literally just be the end of the whole video. But at least the donkey is bleeding out, which means that Red could actually go and eat the corpse of the donkey while being in a mental break, which could save him. So, crisis averted. Red goes to sleep during his mental break, and this puts him out of it. But we don't have time to let him sleep, so I make him butcher the donkey immediately. And luckily, we're able to set up a campfire, and I make him immediately start to cook. By the morning of the next day, we already have 6 meals. Now this might not seem a lot, but to me this is a lot. This will give us a lot of time to do different things without having to think about food. So I start looking around the map for different structures, nodes, anything we might want to put our time into. And seeing 3 large steels out of marble, I decided to start deconstructing them, as using the marble to make different furniture will be better economically than using our wood. Because again, this is the desert and there's barely any wood. I also started setting up a farm, as we can't really live off the limited amount of animals that we have in the desert. We also have some visitors from the Claymore Lions asking if they can stay. And I say yes, because this can help us build better relations with other factions, or even make friends with the visitors to the point where we can actually recruit them. And while they're here, sleeping in our perfect guest bed in our perfect guest room, I do some farming. As setting up sustainable farms is a crucial goal when you live in the desert. And this little farm will actually be able to help a lot. I then tried to make Red talk to our visitors and make friends and entertain them. But because of his lack of social skills, he just ends up offending all of them over and over and over again. So, well, we got some more social skills, but we offended our guests. It's a valid trade, I guess. Compacted plasteel. Wow. A very valuable meteor drop. And in the midst of all of this, Red continues to offend our guests, but we're also out of food, so we go to hunt some more. There's now only 2 donkeys left, and we start to butcher one of them. And after butchering and cooking all the food from the donkey, we're left with 7 meals, which is not bad at all. After being able to deconstruct 1 marble steel, we take some of the marble back, and I start to construct a bed. I then start to look for nearby wood sources again, like these rare trees, or mostly cacti. But before we can get to that, we have a raid. Okay. And he's going to be attacking immediately, and we don't really have time to set anything up at all. And so I quickly scramble Red to make more arrows, as he only had 9 left and he's not the best shot. I then put some rocks between me and the raider, and the fighting begins. With 1 hit to the enemy, I want to try to make him bleed out and lose a little bit of movement speed, but while running away, he catches us. So now we just have to make Red turn around and start shooting. Well, he's getting hit. This is a 50-50 coin flip of who's going to win. Luckily, the enemy starts running away here, and Red is able to shoot him in the back. And we have luckily survived our first raid. I then make Red tend to himself, as we don't want any hits to his mood or any infections, and we want these wounds to heal as fast as possible. Red then rests in his new marble bed. That is of course not the best quality. We also have a cargo drop nearby, and we are very lucky because we have some Devil Strand land. We then set up some graves because we don't want any corpses laying around. We then go to bury our first kill. We then send Red to deconstruct some nearby steel structures, as steel is a very needed resource. We then accept a new visitor, and his name is Dorzodo. And I go to gather some more marble, as we really need to start progressing, as if we don't, we will quickly fall behind and lose. So with this marble, we construct a research table. Or at least try to, as our first attempt botched. And so I go and gather the remains of the marble. And in the midst of this, we have a random guy crash land nearby. And since we don't have the food to sustain him, I go and strip his clothes for Red. We then try to construct the research table for a second time, while Dorzodo watches. And luckily this time, the research table is done. And we can actually start researching critically needed tech. And I start off by selecting smithing, as we don't really have the resources at the moment to even set up batteries and power. We also make Red butcher and cook an emu, as we were low on food again. And we're also running low on animals. And in the meantime, we also had some guests over, and we got the first yield of our farm, which gave us 132 rice, which is not too bad. And in the meantime, we had a visitor. A withered woman stands in front of you. Where her eyes should be, there are only scar-crusted holes in her flesh. Yet, even without eyes, she somehow looks at you with kindness. She says that she knows that her skills are needed here and wants to stay for a while. Now, these type of visitors can occur whenever, but they are kind of risky. As it states in the text, they might be very useful, but you also sense there's something that they're not telling you. But either way, I decide to accept them, as we need a second person at this point. And she's going to constantly research. And Snicker's power to be able to heal is also very useful, but her overall skills weren't the best. The next day, we had a lot of guests over, and I sent Red to mine some steel while Snicker researches away. As steel is a resource that's very easy to work with, and I wanted to make a base out of it. We also cooked the rice into meals, and I started a plan for 2 rooms that we were going to expand into. And with the nearby steel source, it wouldn't take too long for us to be able to finish these 2 rooms. And while our guests were over, we had a raid. And this time, these raiders are not that bad. And so I let my guests deal with them, and they couldn't really deal with them, as the raiders were able to take down 2 of the guests. And with this realization, I put Red into the fight. Then I realized that there's a gun on the ground. And so I tried to send Red to collect the gun. And now the hope is that Red, of course, can kill them before they kill everyone else. With the raiders being dead, we now have to start the recovery phase. You might be thinking, oh, that's easy loot. Not really. If you have visitors over and they get hurt, you will get a huge penalty with the factions that are visiting. So I tried to at least save one of our visitors, the old lady named Chili. And on top of that, Snicker is extremely hurt and has an infection. And Red has a mental break and goes into a sad wander. Chili also got an infection, so I decided to use Snicker's healing ability on Chili. Now, the ability didn't fix her infection, but it made Chili's blood loss disappear, and all the bleed wounds were fully healed. Snicker also has a double infection. We have no medicine, which means that we can't save her, and she's eventually going to die. But at least Chili was able to walk off the map healthy, which saved our relations. And so, in the aftermath of this chaos, Snicker dies. But at least she had done all that she could do, and she did her job. And so starts the massive cleanup and the burying of all these bodies, because if I don't do so, Red's mood will severely suffer. Oh, and there's also a raid. But at least one positive is that we have a gun now. And even though Red is not the best at shooting, because of the range of the rifle, he's able to hit some shots and eventually put down the raider. One more body to add to the graves. We are starting to actually get some proper progress now. We have almost 2 rooms finished, and we send Red to get some more steel. And deconstructing is always faster than mining, unless your mining skills are higher. And I also start to make a storage room, as this is very important, as we don't want our items to just disappear in the open and deteriorate. After being halfway done with the storage room, I also send Red to do some mining, as I want his mining skills to be better, and there's also a need for steel. We then have a refugee named Cooper asking if he can stay for a few days. And of course we say yes, and his skills are not that bad either. Having high medical, high crafting, high mining and construction, and shooting. A pretty valuable member. And so with our high need of steel, I send Cooper to go mine. And then I send Red to go hunt. As we had an influx of some new dromedaries into our map. And it only takes Cooper a few days to mine out the whole node, giving us quite a lot of steel, which also helps us finish the storage room. I then give him the task to deconstruct the nearby ruins, as I have plans to expand over that territory. We also had a harvest, so while Cooper deconstructs the ruins, we get Red to replant and resow our rice farm. I was pretty ecstatic about having these 2 members, as they had split skills, and so we were able to do different tasks way more efficiently. We then had our first trader come visit. Let's trade. What do you guys have? And so after sending Red to go talk to them, we were able to sell off some equipment from the botched raid earlier where we lost some faction members of an allied faction. And from this, we actually got 149 silver, which is not that bad. With our steel, I decided to start a second expansion, as we'll need a recreation room and a storage room for our food that we can turn into a freezer, as it is quite crucial to have a freezer early on or as fast as possible, because then you can do mass hunts or have mass farms, food won't rot away. And thanks to Cooper and Red, it doesn't take that long until we're finished with the whole expansion. Now all we need is to set up power, and so we send Cooper to mine for some components, as we need components both for windmills and for batteries. While this is going on, Red has a mental break and we have a guest, who we make sleep in the back of our storage room. We then had a wild woman wander in and we asked her to unite as she was starting to botch our farm, and after a decline, we were left with no choice. We then started the construction of the windmill because I really wanted to get power going. And after this, we started the third harvest of our farm, and luckily because of Red's increased plant skill, we actually got more out of it this time. And I started a small expansion of the freezer room where I would put a electric stove. We then had a trader come over where we sold most of our weapons and things that we didn't need from recent raids, but it still yielded around 60 silver. We then had the event that Cooper is leaving. He had stayed with us for 11 days and he says that he won't forget what we have done for him. And so we hope that we will see him in the future and maybe we will get some rewards as well. But at least we got a lot of use out of him when he was here, and he mined a lot of steel for us, and as you can see, he also started with a second node. And while also constructing all the power lines through our small little compound, and luckily at least this time we had 2 proper beds, but we still didn't have enough of them. We then also started the research of batteries, as a windmill alone is not that efficient without some batteries. And so with some food in the freezer from a recent harvest of our rice fields, we could just put Red in his room and let him research away. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. We then had a little raid come in. And with Red now, of course, having a gun, I was pretty optimistic that this would go well. One down. Both are down, brother. And with shooting like never before, they're both put down in the dirt. And the next day, we have another harvest of our rice field, and with his plant skill getting ever better, we also get more yield. We then had a civil servant named Alex wanting to join the colony, and of course we said yes, as we had an extra room and food to support more pawns. He joined the colony with 3 meals, a ghillie suit, some clothing, and pretty decent intellectual and social skills. So I made Alex take over Red's room because he would now be the main researcher. And I then started expansions, like a battery room which was quickly finished, and a production room with 2 bedrooms. I then gave Red the leader role of High Mind of this ideology, which would give him different powers to boost other pawns in the colony, one of them being to make another pawn work harder. I then put Alex up in his room and made him research. We now needed more steel to complete the expansion, and while Red was mining steel, we had a wanderer ask to join, a medieval doctor named Nunes, and so we accepted her. But her skills were quite lacking. To be a medieval doctor, her medical skills were not there, and so we sent her on the world map away from the colony, and we made an outpost, a scavenging outpost, which she would try to look for random doodads and then send them back to our colony after 3 to 4 quadrums. We then had a random drifter ask for refuge, where he would ask to stay for 10 days so he could rest and regroup. And with an extra bed, I of course said yes, and so Hutch joined. But his skills were not the best. But I couldn't really send him back either, so well. With our production room done and some production structures down, I then made Red start to make a helmet and some bandanas. And it doesn't take him that long to finish all of this. And after this, he equips both items, a Devil Strand bandana and the helmet, as some protection is better than nothing. And since we had some leathers left over, I made him make some pants and a shirt. I then also started the expansion of more storage space in the room. And then this happened. Oh my god, man. Really, Hutch? Hutch had turned against us and betrayed us, and he now wanted to kill us, and he brought dynamite. You little dumbass. He had taken himself down with the dynamite, and Red was okay. At least none of the ammunition or the incendiary chemicals went off in the explosion, because that would have been an end to probably all of this. But something did happen to Red. He did get bugged in the door and he couldn't move. So in the meantime, Alex went around cleaning until Red had a mental break. Then of course, Red has to go and destroy the electrical tailor bench. So that's a waste of those components. But at least he isn't bugged anymore. I really didn't expect this, but hey, what can you do? Now we just had to clean up, and in the middle of all this, we also had a visitor come join us. And lucky for him, while he was staying over, there was an insane flash storm. But he was sleeping in an almost destroyed bed in a storage room, so I don't really know how nice it was. We also finished the research of machining, and we then started the research of gunsmithing, as having guns is kinda crucial. We then had another wanderer wanting to join, and this time no chance of betrayal, a forester named Porky, and her skills were pretty good. High social, high plants, and high animals. We now had a second farmer, and we can utilize her to make bigger farms. But not yet, as we currently were in a cold snap, so farms weren't really an option. I started setting up defenses around our place, and we also almost finished 2 bedrooms, and it was looking pretty good. And while the cold snap was happening, I made Porky just cut up some marble. A few days later, we also finished gunsmithing, which I was pretty happy about. I was then unsure of what I wanted to research, but I came to the conclusion to do plate armor so we could get flak armor, because we didn't really have the best protection. We then had a combat supplier come over, and while they were here, we also had a raid. And this time it was Cody's grasshoppers, and these guys have guns. Sadly, one of the traders were quite slow, probably because of a spine injury, and they got put down. It was pretty sad to watch. The raiders then moved straight down to the caravan to our base, and they started just putting out chaos. I tried to save as many as I could, and I put Briggs into one of the rooms, as I didn't want any relations harmed, and I would rather want some relations gained. And while Porky was tending to Briggs, mayhem still continued, as there was one more attacker from the south who had killed 3 traders and was trying to kill a 4th. In the middle of all of this, of course, Alex also has a mental break and starts attacking one of the traders. And so I send Red over to try and finish the raider off. The raider had a makeshift assault rifle, not the best, but still it does a lot of damage. So I had to be kinda careful here. Here we were able to suppress him, so at least he wouldn't be shooting that much. And the next shot lands perfectly. Now we just had to do a huge cleanup of everything and everyone. We had gained a lot of guns from this, a lot of ammo, and our storage was full. We were pretty much rich at this point from how many traders died. We were able to save a few of them, and Briggs even stayed to be a visitor. A few days later we had more visitors, and we had another person join, named Sureshot. We didn't really have the best skills either, so you know what we did. We sent him out of the colony into the world, and we made him make an outpost. And this time we made a hunting outpost, so at least it could be bringing us some leathers and some meat. We then started getting multiple farms up and running, and with both Porky and Red working at it, it happened pretty quickly. I even thought about making a few more farms, but at this moment in time, we didn't really need it. I then set up a second windmill for more power generation. We then had a trader over where we were able to sell a lot of the guns and things that we didn't need from all the trader deaths. And we were able to get a pretty good amount of silver out of it. But our storage was still full and getting fuller. And so the next few days we started an expansion of our storage room, which we also luckily had enough steel for. At this point we are looking pretty good. And I'm pretty proud about how far we have come. The following days we also had a random person join. His name is Acosta, and he's a Rimworld drone, and his skills were lacking. So you know what we did. We sent him out into the world to make another outpost, and this time we made another hunting outpost to get even more food and more furs in the future. I would say we've pretty much done it. We have established a pretty decent colony. We have infinite food. We have our outpost. Yeah, I would say challenge completed. We're pretty much done it. Desert survival. We're at a very stable and good point of our colony, and this is where I'm gonna end it. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you had a lot of fun, and if you did, press a like and subscribe, and I'll see you another time.